Hi guys, I'm Chris Salazar with Lobo Off-Road, and today we're going to be installing the WNC winch bumper on a Ford Bronco, along with the Lobo Off-Road fairlead. Included in the kit is the main bumper mount, the bumper shell, bumper screens, and all needed hardware to mount it. So some of the key features of our winch bumper system are the fact that the winch itself has very minimal leverage over the bolts holding the bumper mount to the frame rails. As you can see, this back face is where it mates to the frame rails, and then the center line of the winch itself is minimally forward, where I know a lot of others, the bumper has the winch almost a foot from this face, which is creating a lot of leverage, which now that is where you're seeing the failures of the bumper mount hardware, the frame horns, etc. Another key feature is all these horizontal plates and vertical plates tying into the D-ring to where it has support from multiple angles. So ideally the D-ring is pulled in a straightward motion. However, more often than not, you're not pulled in a straight line and you're pulled at an angle. With that being said, we provide multiple points of contact and support to the D-ring. When running our bumper and skid, it adds extra strength to the skid itself, as there's additional holes to the top of the skid that tie in to the lower bumper mount. So step one is remove the bumper. All right, so step one of installing the winch bumper would be installing all the nut clips onto the main bumper mount itself. So you're gonna go ahead and take the nut clip, go ahead and lightly set it in place. Take a dead blow hammer and lightly tap. You're gonna go ahead and install one here, and then one here. There is also a spot on the back of the bumper mount here. If you are running our skid plate, you will take instead of putting the nut clip here, you're gonna attach it to the skid plate itself. If you're not running our skid plate, then go ahead and put a nut clip here. All right, so now that we have all the nut clips on, we can go ahead and install the winch. Using the hardware provided with the winch, I recommend adding blue Loctite as well. Now that we have the winch installed onto the main bumper mount, we can go ahead and install it onto the Bronco. All right, so now that we have the bumper mount with the winch already completed, ready to install, as well as the bumper shell, we can go ahead and get the front of the Bronco ready. So with the 8mm socket, let's go ahead and remove this top and side bolt to remove this shroud. After you remove the shroud, we need to go ahead and either bend this tab back or just take a little cutoff wheel and cut the tab off. Now that we have both bolts removed on this side, let's go ahead and do that side as well. And we have a plug over there that we need to unplug for the louvers. Another note that we want to take is if you do have the adaptive cruise control, that will also have to get relocated, and we will have a video showing you how our install is of the adaptive cruise control relocation bracket. Now that we have the front shroud off and we have this plug, and also since we do not have the adaptive cruise control on this Bronco, we're going to go ahead and tape this up to seal it, and then just zip tie it or tape it up out of the way. Now that we have the shroud removed, we can go ahead and either bend this tab back or just take a cutoff wheel and cut it off right here. Last step is we're going to go ahead and install the nut clip on our HNT aluminum skid to tie into the bottom of the winch bumper. Now we're ready to install the bumper mount and winch to the front frame horns. However, I like to put it on a cart and just space it off a little bit so that you can connect all your wires to the winch itself and then go ahead and install it. So we're going to be securing the bumper mount / winch mount with the original bolts, and then we're just going to add a little bit of blue Loctite. Now with all the bumper mount bolts snug, we can go ahead and center it to the Bronco. If you have our aluminum skid, lining up the bottom bolt hole with the nut clip on the skid plate is a good indicator of center. Now that the bumper mount is centered, we're going to go ahead and torque all 6 bumper mount bolts to 59 foot-pounds. Moving on to the bumper shell, we're going to go ahead and install the screens. We're going to use a 4mm Allen that we provided. Go ahead and put some blue Loctite on it, and then grab a 2.5mm Allen wrench to fasten the screens onto the shell. Now that we have this first screen fastened, go ahead and do the same thing to the other 3. Now that we have all the screens in place, we can go ahead and install the sensor grommets and the wire harness. For you that ordered the bumper without the grommets and with the plugs, you can bypass this whole step and just pop the plugs in, as there's registers on each side of the plug to register into these 2 grooves. However, for the people that have the wire harnesses, one thing to pay attention to of the sensor grommet is this side has a step for the sensor to register into, while the other side is just a solid square cut. The sensors themselves, the plug end needs to be facing towards the center of the vehicle. So with the sensor needing to be facing inward to the center of the vehicle, that means that the square cut side of the grommet needs to be facing inward. So moving forward, we're going to go ahead and start plugging in the sensors into the grommets and running the wire harness. As you can see here, next to the sensors, we have zip tie holders already welded to the back of the bumper shell. So now, after all the sensors are plugged in and the wire harness is connected, or if you left it connected when you took it out of the last bumper, go ahead and take the extra slack of the harness. Each harness from the modular bumper, capable bumper, or even plastic bumper are going to be slightly different. This harness that we have here is out of a modular bumper. Now that all 6 bumper mount bolts are torqued and on, we're going to go ahead and put the bumper shell on. So if you're by yourself, you can grab it in the center, try to line up the D-ring cutouts, and then try to put it on top first, and then rotate it down. Now that we have the shell in place, we're going to go ahead and mount it with the 10mm button head Allens that we've provided. Add a little bit of blue Loctite. Go ahead and start the tops, sides, and bottom. Make sure to start them all prior to tightening them all down. One thing we would like to mention is, if you are running a different skid that is not tied into our bumper, these lower 2 mounting points, the clip nut is attached to the bumper mount itself. Therefore, it will use the button head, the 10mm button head Allen that we provided. However, if you are using our aluminum skid that is tying into the bumper, we also provided these socket head Allens that are a little bit longer. So now it'll allow the bolt to go farther down into the channel, as well as reach the clip nut on the back side of the aluminum skid. Now we can go ahead and install the fairlead. Next step, go ahead and plug the harness back in. And then you can also zip tie it up. So now that the shell has been fastened to the bumper mount, the install has been completed. Now just go enjoy it.